Hi, I am your U.S. History instructor. Today we're going to talk about the U.S. History course. I always like to ask my students, why do you want to study history? And some students answer that they just like history. And if some student asked me, I would probably respond by saying that I like to study history because the studying of the past would probably lead to the present and we can better prepare for the future. Now, when we're talking about U.S. history, we're looking at a time frame from about 1492 up to 2009. Now, why 1492? That's when Columbus discovered, so-called, America. Why 2009? Because we need some time to evaluate history as well. So 2009 is the start of President Barack Obama. Now his presidency ended, but we still need time to evaluate his presidency. So that's why we end at the start of his presidency. Now the US history course in a nutshell can be divided into 12 time frames. The first would be from 1492 to 1754, and we're talking about colonial America, when Europeans and especially British people started settling on the east coast of what we now call the United States of America. And we're going to talk about what kind of communities were formed and what conflicts there were and how that led to the formation of the great United States of America. The next time frame is 1754 to 1789. That's the American Revolutionary era. That's when the American Revolution took place and America achieved independence from Britain and officially becoming America. The third time frame would be 1789 to 1824, the new nation. We're going to talk about the founding fathers and how the first few presidents in US history tried to make America America. What defines America? We're going to talk about that. The next time frame would be 1824 to 1840. We call that the Age of Jackson. Now, Jackson comes from President Andrew Jackson. Now, this period is especially important in American history because we call it the period of the common man. That's when people in America really started to have a say in politics. The next time frame that we're going to talk about is 1840 to 1860. That's the Gathering Storm. Now, as you all know, the history of America has suffered few battles and wars. And perhaps one of the most bloodiest war is the Civil War. And the period from 1840 to 60, we're going to look at what led to the Civil War. The next time frame would be 1861 to 65, and we're going to talk all about the Civil War. Who were the key players, what was the issue at hand, and what were the consequences. The next time frame would be 1865 to 1900. That's the Reconstruction, New South, and the Old West. We're going to talk about how America rose back up from the Civil War, how presidents and people and entrepreneurs tried to re-establish and find America to be great again. The next time frame would be 1890 to 1919. That's imperialism and World War I. Now, we're going to talk about how America began to build an empire as well. Remember, America fought against the British Empire to find independence. So it's quite ironic that America was now coming to become an empire itself. The next time frame we're going to talk about is 1920 to 1929. We call it the Roaring Twenties. That's when American identity really started to form, and that's when people started to really think of themselves as true Americans and what America really means to them. The next time frame would be 1929 to 1941. That's the Great Depression and the New Deal. We're going to talk about the Great Depression that struck the whole world and how certain US presidents failed to address that issue, and one particular president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was able to tackle that problem and bring United States back on its feet. The next time frame is 1941 to 45. World War II. We're going to talk about the key individuals, key events, and what caused the war and what were the consequences after the war. And the next time frame would be 1945 to 1989, and that's the Cold War period. We're going to talk about the battle between the two superpowers, USSR, we call Soviet Union, and America. We're going to talk about the battle between democracy and communism, how each system tried to expand their sphere of influence and what measures were taken by those two spheres of influence. And the final time frame that we're going to discuss in this course is 1990 and 2009. That's what we call contemporary history. We're going to talk about the problems we face and the United States faces in the global era. We're going to talk about the war on terrorism, and we're going to talk about why America is still leading the world. Well, I hope to see you in class.